Texas City, April 16th, 1947. The city and the port. Texas City, Texas, a port town on the western shore of Galveston Bay, 75 miles southeast of Houston. Population, 16,000. In the years following the Second World War, the city had grown faster than anyone had planned. The port handled 4,000 ships in 1946 alone. Within a single mile of the waterfront stood 6 major chemical and oil companies, 9 piers, 11 warehouses, and a grain elevator. Residential neighborhoods, housing largely Black and Hispanic workers who had no other options, were built as close as half a mile from the docks. The city had no unified port authority, no mandatory safety inspections, no disaster preparedness plan. That absence, even by 1947 standards, was considered inadequate by those who noticed it at all. The SS Grand Camp was a French-registered former victory ship, 437 feet long. She arrived at Pier O on April 11, 1947, and began loading cargo: tobacco, sisal twine, bales of cotton, 16 cases of small arms ammunition mislabeled and stranded from a previous voyage, and 2,300 tons of ammonium nitrate fertilizer manufactured at government ordnance plants in Iowa and Nebraska, packed in paper bags bearing no explosive warning. The fertilizer was destined for post-war France. Loading was interrupted by rain on the evening of April 15th and was set to resume the following morning. A local Catholic priest, Father William F. Roach, had written in the months before, "I feel like I'm sitting on a keg of dynamite." No one with authority to act had listened. The morning of April 16th, at approximately 8 a.m. on Wednesday, April 16th, 1947, a longshoreman working in hold number 4 of the Grand Camp noticed smoke rising from between stacks of bagged fertilizer. Workers attempted to extinguish the fire using a gallon jug of water and 2 hand extinguishers. Neither had any effect. The ship's captain, Charles de Guillebon, was notified. He made a decision that would later be identified as one of the critical errors of the disaster. No water hoses were to be used, out of concern for damaging the cargo. Instead, the hatches were sealed to cut off oxygen and smother the fire. The decision was catastrophic. Ammonium nitrate does not require external oxygen to burn. Its molecular composition supplies its own. Sealing the hold did not suppress the fire. It created a pressurized oven around 2,300 tons of military-grade explosive. At 8:33 a.m., the Texas City Fire Department was called. All 27 members of the volunteer department responded and drove to Pier O. The smoke rising from the Grand Camp had turned an unusual color, deep orange and amber, with reddish-violet streaks. Onlookers from across the city, curious about the strange spectacle, gathered along the waterfront to watch. Dock workers from neighboring piers drifted toward the ship. Women and children came from the nearby residential blocks. It was a normal-looking emergency in a city accustomed to dock fires. By 9 a.m., flames had broken through the hatch. At 9:12 a.m., the temperature inside hold number 4 reached its threshold. The most probable cause, later determined by investigators, was that heat caused an adjacent fuel oil bunker to rupture, pouring bunker oil directly onto the decomposing fertilizer, creating an improvised ANFO mixture capable of mass detonation. 9:12 a.m. The Grand Camp did not catch fire. She did not sink. She ceased to exist. The detonation of 2,300 tons of ammonium nitrate produced one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in recorded history. The blast was heard 150 miles away, as far as Port Arthur. A mushroom cloud rose 2,000 feet into the sky. 2 light aircraft passing above the harbor were destroyed in midair. The ship's 1.5-ton anchor was hurled across the city and found 2 miles from the pier. Burning bales of sisal cargo fell across the city. A 15-foot tidal wave swept the docklands, killing dozens of bystanders who had gathered at the waterline. Within 2,000 feet of the explosion, destruction was total. Within a mile, nearly 1,000 buildings were leveled or severely damaged. The concussion was felt as far away as Port Arthur, and damaged structures throughout Texas City and the surrounding region. All 27 members of the Texas City Volunteer Fire Department who had responded to the call were on or near the deck of the Grand Camp at the moment of detonation. 26 were killed instantly. The 27th survived. Every fire truck, every hose, every piece of firefighting equipment the city possessed was destroyed in the same instant. Texas City had no fire department left. Flying shrapnel struck the Monsanto Chemical Company plant immediately adjacent to the port. The plant erupted. Of 574 workers on shift at Monsanto that morning, 234 were killed. The blast simultaneously ignited crude oil storage tanks, refineries, and chemical facilities along the waterfront. Fires burned for days. Approximately 4,000 people were injured in the first minutes. Medical facilities across Galveston County were overwhelmed. Doctors and nurses treated patients in parking lots and on sidewalks. With Texas City's own emergency infrastructure destroyed, the city was dependent on outside help arriving, and on whatever happened next. What happened next was already on fire. The second explosion. The SS High Flyer was moored at Pier A, directly adjacent to the Grand Camp. She had been in port for repairs. Her cargo, 961 tons of ammonium nitrate and 1,800 tons of sulfur, a combination that significantly increases the explosive volatility of ammonium nitrate. The shock wave of the Grand Camp's detonation had torn the High Flyer free from her moorings. She drifted across the main slip toward the Wilson B. Keene. She was on fire. Attempts were made to tow her away from the dock. Tugs managed to move her approximately 100 feet. Her lines parted. She could not be moved further. Through the night of April 16th, she burned. W.H. Sandberg, a railway company vice president who had taken charge of relief coordination after the initial blast, monitored the High Flyer through the night. He recognized the signs, the same orange-amber smoke that had preceded the Grand Camp, the deepening glow from the holds. He cleared the surrounding area. He issued repeated warnings. He ordered everyone away. At 1:10 a.m. on April 17, 1947, 15 hours after the first explosion, the High Flyer detonated. The blast demolished the Wilson B. Keene. It destroyed what remained of the pier and nearby grain elevators. Radio broadcaster Ben Kaplan of Houston's KTHT was live on air. Here comes another explosion. You have just heard it. The sky is like broad daylight. Because Sandberg had cleared the area, the second explosion killed only 2 people. The contrast with the first blast, where no warning was possible because no one believed an explosion could happen at all, was absolute. The dead and the aftermath. The final death toll from the Texas City disaster was at least 581 people. Of these, only 398 were ever positively identified. 63 victims were buried unidentified in a collective memorial cemetery established in June 1947. Nearly 200 people were listed as simply missing. Their remains either lost to Galveston Bay or consumed so completely by the explosion and subsequent fires that nothing could be recovered. The FBI assisted in victim identification by matching fingerprints from recovered remains against existing records. The process took 2 months. An estimated 2,000 people were left homeless. In the immediate aftermath, hundreds of local volunteers began rescue work with whatever resources remained. Nearly 4,000 Red Cross workers and volunteers eventually arrived from surrounding cities. Temporary hospitals were established. Housing was donated. The rebuilding of the port, the warehouses, the refineries, and the residential neighborhoods took until approximately 1950. The Texas City disaster generated the first class action lawsuit ever filed against the United States government. 8,485 plaintiffs, arguing that because the ammonium nitrate had been manufactured in U.S. government ordnance plants, federal liability applied. The suit was brought under the newly enacted 1946 Federal Tort Claims Act. Litigation lasted 15 years. In 1962, the Supreme Court declined to review an appeals court ruling that France, as the owner of the Grand Camp, bore no liability. A special act of Congress settled all U.S. government claims in 1956, $16.5 million, distributed across more than 3,000 lawsuits. The anchor of the SS Grand Camp, recovered 2 miles from the pier, was mounted as a public monument in Texas City. It bears the names of 576 of the known dead. It remains there today. The investigation and its findings. Congressional hearings and Coast Guard investigations that followed the disaster revealed a picture of systemic failure operating at every level simultaneously. The ammonium nitrate aboard the Grand Camp had been manufactured as a military explosive during the Second World War. After the war ended, production continued, and the chemical was reclassified for agricultural use as fertilizer. The bags loaded onto the Grand Camp bore no warning labels, no explosive designations. Army regulations classified ammonium nitrate as a Class A explosive. That classification was not communicated to the shipping industry, to port workers, or to the fire departments responding to fires on vessels carrying it. The Port of Houston had quietly banned the loading of ammonium nitrate in 1946, citing safety concerns. Texas City had issued no such ban. The city had no port authority empowered to regulate both land and sea operations simultaneously. Safety responsibilities were fragmented among private companies and overlapping jurisdictions, with no single authority accountable for the whole. Neither the port nor the city, nor any of the surrounding oil and chemical facilities maintained a disaster preparedness plan, something that investigators noted was considered inadequate even by the standards of the time. In the months before April 16th, a Catholic priest had written about sitting on a keg of dynamite. In 1946, the Port of Houston had banned the very substance that destroyed Texas City. No one connected those warnings to any action. The disaster produced significant regulatory reform. New federal regulations required ammonium nitrate to be stored at controlled temperatures, in specialized containers, away from reactive materials. Overseas transport was strictly limited. Port authorities gained expanded regulatory jurisdiction. Disaster preparedness requirements were established across industrial port facilities nationwide. What happened in Texas City on April 16, 1947, was not an accident in any meaningful sense. It was the entirely predictable outcome of institutional negligence layered across every level of government and industry at once. The Army knew ammonium nitrate was a high explosive. The Port of Houston knew it well enough to ban its loading. A local priest knew enough to write about it. None of that knowledge reached the 27 firefighters who drove toward Pier O that morning, or the hundreds of bystanders who gathered to watch what they had every reason to believe was an ordinary dock fire. The most damning detail is not the explosion itself. It is the absence of any mechanism to connect what was known at the top to the people at the bottom who needed to know it. 581 people died in that gap.